It was a quiet Saturday morning in the upscale Maple Creek HOA community. Marcus Johnson had finally upgraded his home Wi-Fi after weeks of dealing with slow internet. He never imagined that replacing an old router with a faster one would trigger the biggest misunderstanding his neighborhood had ever seen. Marcus smiled as a new router powered on, and every device in his home instantly reconnected. His laptop, television, security cameras, and smartphone all showed a strong signal. It felt like a small victory after dealing with slow internet for months. Across the street, however, someone was already watching him through the living room window. Linda Harper considered herself the unofficial guardian of the neighborhood. As an active HOA board member, she believed she noticed everything that happened on the street. When she saw Marcus unpacking unfamiliar networking equipment and a brand new router, she immediately became suspicious. Instead of simply walking over and asking what he was doing, she reached for her phone and convinced herself something unusual was happening. Within minutes, 2 police cruisers slowly entered Maple Creek. Their flashing lights reflected across the polished driveways as curious neighbors peeked through curtains and opened front doors to see what were happening. Marcus looked up from his porch, confused to see the officers stopping directly in front of his house while he still held a router in his hands. Officer Daniel Brooks stepped out of his patrol vehicle with a calm and professional attitude. He greeted Marcus politely before explaining that someone had reported suspicious electronic activity coming from property. Marcus looked at the router in his hands, then back at the officer, and let out a quiet laugh of disbelief. He had expected to spend his morning improving his internet speed, not answering questions from police. Remaining completely cooperative, Marcus invited the officers onto his front porch. He showed them the box for the new router, the purchase receipt from the electronics store, and explained that he had simply upgraded his home network to support remote work and smart home devices. Everything about the installation was ordinary, and the officers quickly realized there was nothing unusual about the equipment. Just as Officer Brooks thanked Marcus for his cooperation and prepared to leave, Linda Harper marched confidently across the street. Pointing toward Marcus' house, she insisted the officers were overlooking something important. She claimed the unfamiliar Wi-Fi network name, and new equipment proved that something suspicious was happening. The quiet neighborhood suddenly filled with tension as more residents gathered outside to watch. Officer Brooks listened carefully before asking Linda a simple question. "What evidence do you have that any crime has occurred?" Linda hesitated for a moment before repeating that the new network name looked suspicious and that she believed it deserved further investigation. The officers exchanged puzzled glances. Changing a Wi-Fi router or network name was completely normal, and nothing they had seen suggested any illegal activity. Marcus remained calm throughout the conversation. Instead of becoming defensive, he smiled politely and asked Officer Brooks if he would like to see the router's connection records. Pulling out his smartphone, Marcus logged into the router's secure management system and opened the activity history. Every connected device belonged to his own household, and every authorized login matched equipment inside his home. Officer Brooks carefully reviewed the information displayed on the screen. The activity log showed normal internet traffic, properly secured connections, and no evidence of unauthorized access or suspicious behavior. As he continued scrolling through the security records, however, something unexpected caught his attention. Several failed connection attempts had been marked. Marcus zoomed in on the security logs and pointed to the repeated failed login attempts. The router had automatically recorded the date, time, and signal strength of every unsuccessful connection request. While it didn't reveal anyone's personal information, it clearly showed that the attempts were coming from very close to his property. Officer Brooks studied the screen carefully before asking if Marcus could estimate where the signal had originated. Marcus looked across the street and calmly replied, "Based on the signal strength, it's likely coming from somewhere over there." The officer followed his gaze toward the neighboring homes. Linda's confident expression slowly disappeared as she realized the conversation was no longer focused on Marcus but on the repeated attempt to access his private network. Officer Brooks politely asked Linda if she knew anything about the failed connection attempts. Linda quickly insisted she had done nothing wrong, and explained that she had only been trying to protect the neighborhood. Her voice, which had been loud and confident only minutes earlier, became noticeably quieter. The gathered neighbors watched in silence as the conversation shifted in an unexpected direction. Marcus calmly explained that modern Wi-Fi routers automatically record failed login attempts as part of their built-in security features. Every time someone enters an incorrect password or tries to connect without authorization, the router simply logs the event. It was a standard feature designed to help homeowners monitor their own networks. The officers appreciated the clear explanation and recognized that the technology itself had documented exactly what had happened. By now, several neighbors had quietly gathered along the sidewalk. They weren't there for drama anymore. They were genuinely curious. Many admitted they had never realized that home networking equipment included security logs capable of recording failed connection attempts. What had started as an uncomfortable misunderstanding was quickly becoming an unexpected lesson in everyday technology. Officer Brooks addressed everyone standing nearby in a calm and professional manner. He reminded the group that replacing personal networking equipment, changing a Wi-Fi password, or creating a new network name was completely normal for any homeowner. He also explained that emergency services should only be contacted when there is genuine evidence of crime, not simply because something appears unfamiliar. After a long pause, Linda admitted that she had noticed Marcus' new Wi-Fi network appearing on her phone's list of available connections earlier that morning. Instead of asking him about it, she assumed something suspicious was taking place. She acknowledged that she had allowed her assumptions to guide her actions rather than seeking a simple explanation first. Marcus accepted her explanation without raising his voice. He told everyone that misunderstandings can happen, but that making assumptions about neighbors often creates unnecessary stress for everyone involved. Several residents nodded in agreement. Many realized they had also been guilty of jumping to conclusions at one time or another. One neighbor stepped forward and admitted that they had recently upgraded their own internet equipment and had worried that someone might misunderstand it as well. The conversation quickly shifted away from accusations and toward learning. Neighbors began asking Marcus questions about securing home Wi-Fi networks, choosing strong passwords, and protecting their personal information online. Before returning to his patrol vehicle, Officer Brooks thanked Marcus for his patience and cooperation throughout the situation. He encouraged everyone on the street to communicate directly with one another whenever possible. A respectful conversation, he explained, could often resolve concerns long before they ever became unnecessary police calls. The gathered neighbors quietly agreed, realizing the entire incident could have been avoided with a simple knock on the front door, automatically recorded over the past few days. Curious, he asked Marcus if he knew where those repeated attempts had originated. As the police cruisers slowly pulled away from Maple Creek, the flashing lights disappeared around the corner and the neighborhood returned to its usual peaceful rhythm. Marcus carried his new router back inside, relieved that the misunderstanding had finally come to an end. What had started as a simple Saturday morning project had turned into an unforgettable lesson for everyone on the street. Over the following days, several neighbors stopped by Marcus' house to apologize for believing the rumors before hearing the facts. Marcus welcomed each conversation with patience and kindness. Instead of holding a grudge, he answered questions about home network security and explained how simple technology upgrades could sometimes look confusing to people unfamiliar with them. The next HOA community meeting was noticeably different from previous ones. Rather than discussing complaints and violations, the board encouraged residents to communicate directly with one another before assuming the worst. They reminded homeowners that upgrading personal technology, changing internet providers, or replacing networking equipment was a normal part of modern homeownership and did not require HOA approval. A few days later, Linda knocked on Marcus' front door. This time there were no raised voices, no accusations, and no police cars parked outside. She sincerely apologized for allowing assumptions to influence her judgment instead of having a simple conversation. Marcus accepted the apology with a smile and told her that good neighbors are built through respect, communication, and understanding. The tension that had existed between them quietly disappeared. As word of the incident spread throughout the community, many residents became more thoughtful about how quickly misunderstandings can grow when people rely on assumptions instead of facts. Several homeowners updated their own Wi-Fi equipment during the following weeks, and instead of creating suspicion, those upgrades became opportunities for friendly conversations between neighbors. Marcus finally had the fast internet connection he had wanted from the very beginning. Ironically, the router that had caused so much unnecessary attention became just another ordinary piece of technology sitting quietly on a shelf inside his home. Life returned to normal, but the neighborhood itself had changed in a positive way. Families once again filled the sidewalks during the evenings. Children rode their bicycles through the quiet streets while neighbors waved to one another from their front porches. The atmosphere felt lighter because people had learned an important lesson. Communication is always stronger than assumptions. Standing on his front porch one evening, Marcus looked across the peaceful street and smiled. The biggest change had never been his Wi-Fi network. It was the willingness of neighbors to talk with each other before jumping to conclusions. Sometimes the smallest misunderstandings can lead to the most valuable lessons when people choose respect over suspicion. Every neighborhood faces moments that test trust between neighbors. What matters most is how those moments are handled. Listening, asking honest questions, and giving people the benefit of the doubt can prevent unnecessary conflict and strengthen an entire community. If you enjoyed this story, don't forget to like, subscribe, and turn on the notification bell so you never miss another unbelievable HOA story. And tell us in the comments, where are you watching from?